Good afternoon. I'm Anne Marie Gray, the Executive Director and CEO for USA for UNHCR. I hope you are safe and well. This afternoon, I am thrilled to talk about two things that I'm absolutely passionate about: coffee and refugees. And today's special event is presented in partnership with 1951 Coffee Company. Founded in 2015, 1951 Coffee Company is a nonprofit specialty coffee organization that promotes the well-being of the refugee community in the United States by providing job training and employment opportunities for refugees, asylees, and special immigrant visa holders while educating the surrounding community about refugee life and issues. We're honored to partner with an organization that is so committed to empowering refugees, both with community and livelihoods training. Through their barista training program, employment at the cafe, and ongoing job placement support, 1951 Coffee breaks down the barriers refugees and asylees face in gaining the financial stability needed to have self-determination. Program participants learn more than how to make quality coffee. They learn vocational English skills, customer service standards, U.S. workplace expectations and responsibilities, in addition to receiving ongoing support as they embark on a new career path in a new country. Today, we're excited to bring you an exciting and informative program highlighting the story behind 1951 Coffee Company's mission, and a chance to hear directly from Ali, a graduate of the barista program, on how working with 1951 Coffee has changed his life and, perhaps more importantly, made him feel at home here in the United States. On behalf of everyone at USA for UNHCR, we also want to thank you, our supporters, for caring about the well-being of refugees and continually recognizing their strength and resilience. Your compassionate support empowers refugees and creates conversations that build a more empathetic world. Half of all the proceeds raised in conjunction with today's event will go to fund 1951 Coffee Company and their barista training program to help them continue to provide career support to resettled refugees and asylees. When refugees arrive in the US, they often have as little as 90 days of public support. In just a few months, families must find jobs, they need to enroll their children in school, they have to navigate the public transportation systems, what healthcare access looks like, in most cases, while they're learning a new language and navigating a new culture. That's why at USA for UNHCR, we're so committed to supporting and amplifying the mission of organizations like 1951 Coffee Company. They're providing ongoing support to resettled refugees and their families, and they really help to ease that transition into life in the US. Now I'm thrilled to introduce Jennifer Simon, the Senior Director of Advocacy and Community Engagement at USA for UNHCR, who will be hosting your afternoon. I hope that you'll find today's program and film informative and entertaining. I thank you again for all you do, and I urge you to check out the 1951 Coffee Company web store as well. The coffee is fantastic, I know, because I have at least 3 cups of it every day. Have a great afternoon. Take it away, Jen.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne Marie. I am excited to join all of you this afternoon in support of USA for UNHCR and in support of 1951 Coffee Company. We are so fortunate to be able to partner with organizations like 1951 Coffee that support resettled refugees here in the US, and we are thrilled to be joined by so many members of its team this afternoon. So on that note, I'm happy to introduce 1951 Coffee Company CEO Doug, Program Manager Rachel, and barista graduates Evelyn and Ali.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us be here.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm so inspired by all of you, your organization, your company, your commitment to resettled refugees and to helping resettled refugees feel welcome in their new home. So on that note, and in terms of our program this afternoon, we'll all have the opportunity to hear more about Doug and his team and to learn more about the team through the short film that you're about to see. The film, No Single Origin, is by Home Storytellers, and it tells the story of 1951 Coffee Company through the lens of the complex issue that is refugee resettlement in the US. It also highlights the importance of building community. It highlights the importance of education and of opportunity. After the film, Rachel and Evelyn will treat us to a demonstration about some of the skills that they have learned in 1951's training program. And then in our final segment, we'll be joined by another barista graduate, Ali, who you just met. And he'll talk about not only his experience at 1951, but how that has opened other doors and other pathways to opportunity for him in the US. And during that segment, during that conversation, you'll also have the opportunity to submit questions through the live chat on the right-hand side of your screen. So with that as an overview of our program, and with no further ado, here is No Single Origin.
Hey, Lebe, do you want coffee?
I have tea, please.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, what did you ask me?
Yeah. I see this picture, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, so it's called the Statue of Liberty. So that statue actually was given by France to the United States. The United States didn't build it, France built it, and then gave it to the United States as a gift.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Those are the words of Emma Lazarus inscribed on the Statue of Liberty.
The acting director of Citizenship and Immigration Services, Ken Cuccinelli, attempted to rewrite the poem in an effort to make a case for limiting immigration to the United States.
We have to be safe. Our country has to be safe. So we have a very strong travel ban, and we'll be adding a few countries to it.
There are those moments of things that you have to lift up onto your own shoulders.
We are a strong enough country to accept people that are hurting.
At the end of the day, when you go home and you think about who you want to be and what you want to be, those are decisions that you ultimately have to make.
Begin driving. In 0.1 mile, exit left.
When I go back to the community that I grew up in many ways it feels very, very familiar. But I feel very different. I kind of grew up with this very inward look on life here in the United States. I had no reason to really consider things beyond myself. It was a community that was very much like me. There weren't many people from outside of the country that would ever pass through the rural foothills of East Tennessee. There was a time period where my exposure to the outside world was really just through occasional movies, magazines, maybe a textbook here and there. I remember pretty much us being in church all the time that we could be. And one of the things that was very important was this idea around patriotism as well. There was never this, the outside world is bad and the inside world is good. It was never phrased that way. But I think there was just this kind of underlying thing you picked up within the culture that you're living in the best country in the world. So everything else that you would go to would be, it might be cool, but it's a step down from here. growing up in church, you would hear things about God's love for the world. You know, that God wasn't just concerned about this group of people, but he was concerned about everyone. He was concerned about people in this situation and that situation. But I wasn't exposed to a lot of those other situations. And so I didn't really fully understand what that meant.
If I was to go back and sit down with my younger self, I will definitely tell my younger self to be open to change. Growing up in Syria, I used to have a specific idea about refugees. Now going back, I can't believe I had those ideas. It's just, life is very unpredictable.
Many young people, when they come to the United States, they learn English faster than their parents. And so there's a burden of responsibility that will rest on their shoulders to help the rest of their family. And I feel like Batul has risen to that task.
We as refugees or immigrants in general, when we know that we are going to be resettled in the US, you have a lot of high expectations. It's not as easy as we thought it would be. If we don't go through the experience or be in someone's shoe, then we would never really understand.
As I moved into adulthood, I began to see more of what the world was like. I got a job at the Starbucks cafe just down the hill. And there was another guy who was hired to work there alongside of me. Just in the first few days of working with him, I found out that he wasn't from Eritrea. And so I just asked him, how did you, what brought you here? And I remember hearing this story, and I was completely blown away. I had no context for that kind of a path coming to the United States. It took maybe the simplified immigrant experience that I had in my mind and really opened my eyes to the complexity of what it is for someone who wants to call this country home.
I guess we change, and just the experience we have reframe the way we think of anything around us.
I can't just be concerned about myself. I can't just be concerned about my community. I can't just be concerned about my country. There's much more going on in the world that I need to be open and I need to actually care about. And I really began to understand that my actions and my choices would play a role in really showing how much I cared and how much I was concerned about things beyond my immediate surroundings. I had a group of friends that decided together that we were going to all volunteer with the International Rescue Committee. And so we started an English class just to provide a start for refugees coming to the US. And what made our English class really, really popular with a lot of the new people who were coming is we would always go to a park and play soccer afterwards. Meg and I connected over that. He played soccer with joy.
Soccer brings together people, unity. That's why I want to teach my daughter also soccer. It's a language. Without speaking also, you can connect with the people. Dog is not just a friend. It's like blood doesn't matter when it comes to the friends and brothers. Like there's nothing else. When I first arrived in the United States,
my girlfriend, now my wife, was resettled with her family in Vancouver, Canada. It took me 1.5 years to get my green card and travel to see her.
I didn't know how to take the bat. I didn't know how to ride a plane properly. Doug teach me so much. He helped me to grow there.
I don't think that we understand how much we learn just growing up in this system.
Finding a job was the hardest thing and the toughest for my life.
There's some problems that need to be fixed so that people who are coming to this country aren't being traumatized again by being resettled and then not having the money to take care of their families.
I want to give her opportunity, so much opportunity, because I know what is to be a stateless. I was nothing before United States. I was hopeless, no identity. I live in Nepal in a refugee camp for 19 to 20 years. So when I became a US citizen in 26 years old, I feel like I achieved everything. United States welcome refugees more than anybody, but our administration is different now. So I didn't find a job for 8 months when I arrived in the United States.
We went around San Francisco, we went around Oakland, turning out resumes, handing them out to any and every restaurant, retail place, anything that we could.
If you don't have any records of what you studied or what you did in your country, because when you run out from the war, you just think about your safety. You don't really consider picking up any of these little details.
There was this big disconnect between what employers in the United States expected and what refugee resettlement agencies could prepare someone for before they would apply for their first job.
Going for an interview from one place to another, they say, okay, we'll call. Looks like interview is perfect. Nothing to complain about it. They say, you're good, everything is good. Nobody called.
All of these expectations were built up on what this would be like, only to find out that they were going to have to really, really, really work hard to be able to establish any kind of a new life here, sometimes living in more difficult conditions here than they had lived in their home country. What did we need to do different here? That if we say we're going to welcome people into our community, what do we really need to do to make that possible?
It's not as easy as we thought it would be.
The most important thing is like you can interact in a coffee.
Leve, when you hear the word coffee, what comes to your mind? So close your eyes for us and tell us what you see.
The next one I'm going to show you is a macchiato. Okay, macchiato. Right, good. All right.
In my country, before when I live, I think about where I'm going, who's my friends, who's my family, who's going with me. I'm going Europe, I'm going Canada, I'm going America. I have no idea. I'm something feeling like, afraid. I'm so scared. I don't have any idea in my mind. Just I need to go. After long time, when I'm coming in United States, I found in 1951 milk, dog, and bottle.
I was 18 years old and still new in the country, still learning English. I had to learn how to communicate with strangers because, our work requires connecting with people.
And the most important thing is like you can interact in a coffee. Like look at the Leve now, he can do interview with you like this. His English was zero.
Make come over and say to me, do not be afraid.
And what I was doing for 1951 by advocating refugees and the communities, helping them, finding a jobs, it's not about the pay only. It's about the satisfaction I was getting in a job. The love I'm getting from a customer, UC Berkeley students, something special.
When you start with something that's an idea, it's never going to come to fruition unless there are people around who also buy into the same mission, the same heart, and the same idea. And at that point, the idea and the work of 1951 is much bigger than me. It's much bigger than Rachel. It's much bigger than what we had envisioned it to be, because now it's a place that the ownership of this place is the community and the people who work here.
It is the home for the community and for you.
She comes so fast. Go for it. Now helps.
I never step back from enjoying my life.
First step. Okay. Then go. Okay.
Only the way to win the game is to be thankful. You'll never be satisfied if you can't be thankful.
That's how we want to do it.
Are you ready, guys?
My wife is amazing. She's an incredible lady, so talented.
Did they hurt you? Yeah?
What happens with the refugees, sometimes they have gone through so many difficulties in their life. Sometimes when something reminds, it brings them the memory. So they don't want to talk about it. But myself, I'm always willing to tell my story. If my story changes somebody.
Levitt officially speaks Korean. Wow.
Why are all these missed calls? Come on, Meg. You can pick up.
Meg, pick
Meg!
up. Meg, gosh.
It's all in.
Most of you guys look good.
Most?
It's only 4.
Admit who's the non-good looking.
That means at least 3 look good.
He was talking about himself, obviously.
Yeah.
So, how do you think this experience has added meaning to your life?
I felt like I belong to a community and I can be fully myself.
We have laughed together, we have enjoyed together, we have talking together. That is very nice in my life.
No, I'm just making a video.
Just being surrounded by a global community of friends. You know things about each other, you care about each other, you have shared experiences together, you're doing life together with each other.
You get to learn from everyone, you get to break the stereotypes, you really see the people around you just as humans.
And this is the thing, as a human being, what else you can achieve? Love, spreading love and being nice to each other.
The support I had really means the world.
All of them can be free, right? And so part of the reason that Meg, Batul, they're all actually bigger than the statue is because it's like instead of the statue representing freedom, herself, now we're the statues for the light of freedom. Like we're the ones who are, representing freedom now from everywhere. Yeah, that's the reason they're also all bigger than her, because that was the past and this is the future. So.
In the refugee camp, the connection between coffee, There is no connection between coffee and Mr. Meg or me, myself. Only tea.
That's right, because I love dancing. I love dancing.
I think if you had our camera recording us, we will make a really great TV show.
I'm turning 18. I should drink coffee now. So I did, and I hated it. I thought it was the worst thing ever.
I love coffee now. It smells so good. I even eat beans. The bean, so good.
Fantastic. What an inspiring film. This is the third time I've watched it, and I think it really highlights the importance of relationships, of friendships, of building community, of learning, and about the ways that we can make a difference in the lives of the newest members of our communities. So we will have the opportunity to talk about all of that and more. But first, I'm really excited about this next segment. We are going to go to 1951 Coffee and view a demonstration about some of the skills that are taught in the barista training program. And for that, we will go to Evelyn. After the demo, we'll have some time to talk with Doug and Ali. So as I mentioned at the top of the program, if you have a question for Doug or for Ali or for both of them, take a minute now to submit it in the YouTube chat on the right-hand side of your screen. Now going to 1951 Coffee, Doug, Rachel, Evelyn, over to you.
Wonderful. I'm going to let Rachel and Evelyn take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Eaton, and I am the programs manager here at 1951 Coffee Company. I help with the recruitment for the class. I also help with the training, and then helping all of our students find employment post the class. And then this is...
Hi, everyone. My name is Evelyn Solis. I am from Guatemala, and I'm 1951 barista.
Cool. And Evelyn, what are we going to be making today?
Well, today we're going to make a mocha latte, and I'm going to show you how to make it. First thing that I need to do is take a portafilter from the espresso machine, and then need to dry the portafilter. I need to weigh my coffee, so I have to make this, and then I need to grind my espresso.
What Evelyn's doing is we have a recipe that the first barista of the day comes in and measures out. It's all according to what they believe is the best taste for the day. So this is the recipe. We have 19.4 grams that we're looking to get on the scale. And then we're also looking for 29 seconds when we actually pull the espresso shot. So that's what Evelyn's weight.
I have my 19.4 grams of coffee, so I have to tamp it. I need to push the coffee like this, and then to polish. Like I need to clean the filter. I need to rinse my machine, purple filter, and I need to take my cup. I'm gonna make it mocha, so I have to pour a little bit of chocolate. Like this. Now at the same time, I need to put my timer and turn it on the espresso.
How long is your espresso shot, Evelyn?
It's gonna take 29 seconds to have a perfect shot.
Perfect. So sometimes if we wait and it goes either beyond 29 seconds or we stop it too early, can affect the taste. So it can make it too sour, too bitter. It can sometimes burn the espresso shot. So that's what we're looking for, to hit exactly 29 seconds.
For my espresso, I have to mix it. And then I have to take my pitcher take my milk from the fridge. I'm making a small mocha, so I have to take my small pitcher and put the milk 1 finger below the nose of the pitcher. Then I need to steam my milk. I always put the steamer on the right side, and then I have to turn it on. I need to put my hand on the pitcher to feel how hot it is. So I have to turn it off. And to tap, tap, tap to take the bubbles out.
So what Evelyn's doing is what we want our milk to look like is equivalent to what wet paint looks like. Sometimes if you let it sit, the bubbles will go out, gets a little different consistency. Nice, yeah, it's okay. She's been making some pretty amazing latte art in the past couple of hours, so I'm sure she's gonna do it again.
Okay, now I need to pour my milk. It's a little bit foamy, so we want to.
Yes, nice job, Evelyn.
Okay, we have a mocha.
Nice. Looks great. Yeah, so that's how you make a mocha. I'll hand it back over to you guys.
Wonderful, thank you.
Beautiful. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Evelyn, and thank you so much, Rachel. And now moving on to our conversation with Doug and Ali. Ali, I'll start with you. As I mentioned earlier, Ali is another graduate of the barista training program. Ali, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience at 1951 Coffee, and what you're up to today.
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Fayazi, originally from Afghanistan, but I was born in Iran. So about 5 years ago, I came to USA as a refugee, and then I was registered to an organization called IRC that helped refugees to find a job and taking like some classes, cultural and like finding job and stuff. So I was heard about 1951 Coffee, that they have like 2 weeks training class, and then it was about coffee. I was interested. I didn't know about coffee, so I joined with 1951 class and that 2 weeks training. And after that, I found a job like immediately, like a month after I come to the USA, which was like amazing.
And so at this point, you've been making coffee for quite a while. You become a pro. What do you enjoy most about making coffee and about both your experience at 1951 as well as your current experience?
Well, yeah, I didn't know that it's just kind of talking about myself. I didn't know that I'm good at art and stuff. So that's the favorite. My part is making a latte art, which is, it's kind of my passion right now. So I'm just trying like making a lot of arts and like drawing on the coffees and stuff. Yeah, that was great experience that I had it, and it was my favorite part, working in the coffee industry.
It's creative. What are your favorite designs?
Well, there's a lot of it. I love to like draw at the coffee, which is like people sometimes they have like order telling me that, hey, can you draw this? Like they giving me a photo of something. You can check it in my Instagram, Ali Barista. So I'm advertising my page. So
you've taken it to the next level. That's fantastic. Doug, Let's go to you. Why did you name this company 1951 Coffee? Why the reference to 1951 in that year?
Yeah, well, thank you all again for having me. And, 1951 was an important year for the work being done around the world with refugees. As many of you may know, and some of you may not know, the 1951 Refugee Convention happened right after the UNHCR was formed. And the intent of that convention was to legally define who a refugee was, and also to lay out the protections for refugees, the international kind of like protections that refugees would be afforded as they fled from countries. Because the experience we had coming out of World War II was that refugees would flee, and instead of being provided protections, they could be pushed back into conflict zones. And there was a decision to say, like, we don't want this type of situation to happen again. And I think for us, that became a founding document and a founding moment for the work done with refugees moving forward. It recognized the refugees were there and that there was something that needed to be done to address that specific issue. And I think as a coffee company, we also saw something similar here where, when we were founded in 2015, there wasn't a lot of recognition of refugees being here and being a part of our society, and the specific needs that refugees had as they entered into our society, and what could be done to work with them and to help them, adjust to their new life here. And so for us, we kind of like connected with that, as we want to be a company that recognizes that, and it really can be foundational to helping people start a new life here.
Tell us more about No Single Origin, both what inspired the name for the film and then why you wanted to make the film.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of play on something in the coffee industry. Single origin coffee is often regarded as kind of like this, like really like, it's like from one specific place. It's like high quality. It's, all of this focus on that. And a little bit of play on, some things that kind of are happening in conversations within our American society, where there's an overemphasis on people who come from maybe Europe, and really focusing on the origins there, and our history tends to lean that way and everything else. And so we kind of like married these two things together in an idea of 1951 is not about people coming from one place, but we're actually from bringing people from all over. That in many ways we're a blend, and we want to embrace that in American society. And so that's kind of where the name comes from. But then I think also the the part of the reason I think the film is important is we wanted to share a little bit about our story, about the founding of our story, and what we're attempting to do here at 1951. Not just creating a job training program, while that is very, very essential to connecting people with employment and financial the financial things they need to survive here, but about building a community, about building a network, and that this coffee shop and our organization, it strives to be so much more than just another program that someone can go through, but hopefully a starting place for them to continually be connected in their new communities.
Yeah. And on that note, both sides of what you described, talk a little bit more about some of the skills or the career options that are available through 1951. Of course, we saw some of that live in the video, but if you can describe a bit more about that, the skills building, and then a bit more about the community building, which we've also started to get a sense of.
For sure. So kind of starting out, our barista training program with Meg, who you saw in the film, was a program that we designed to help refugees as they enter into the country be able to quickly take a training program that connects them to a specific skill. Now, a lot of people are familiar with, for a refugee resettlement agency, will have an employment program. Usually what that does is it provides resume building, application assistance, and then like some early HR support if the company needs help filling out the proper papers. But that's about the extent of almost any employment program that exists. However, you move to the other side and you see what it's like for an employer. The employers don't necessarily have technical assistance to, how do I hire someone who doesn't have all the normal documents that I'm used to seeing? How do I hire someone who's new to this country, still learning English? How do I hire someone who is still adjusting to culture here? And we realized between those two entities, there needed to be something that could bridge the gap in between. And so we decided to create a training program that helps a new refugee gain all of the basic skills that they would need to work in the coffee industry. So we teach them how to make a French press. We teach them how to make a pour over. We teach them how to work an espresso machine. We give them, a booklet that helps them navigate and learn all the specific terms and equipment within a coffee, a cafe. And the goal of that is that when they go to a job, they have become very, very familiar with how a general cafe operates, the basic drinks that are being made, and that is already in the kind of the repository of knowledge. We're working with refugee resettlement agencies to work in tandem with what they're already doing, but also helping them to be able to have something that they can put on a resume that is here in the United States with a reference that can be called, that can be connected with, and that we also are able to bring people, you know, we bring a lot of cafe managers into our training program the last day in order so that, like, people like Ali can get a job as soon as possible after the training class. And so that's kind of what we do on the skills building piece, customer service. All of that happens in our 2-week barista training program that is free to any refugees that are going through our program. On the community building piece, this was a really important decision we made along the way. A lot of programs that exist for refugees are time-stamped, meaning you enter the program, you're in it for a certain amount of time, and then it terminates. But for us, we decided we didn't want to do things that way. Yes, our 2-week barista training program has an end, but as far as someone's assistance from us, it will be ongoing as long as they need it. They can come back to us at any time. And I think during this time in the pandemic, that has proved to be really, really valuable. We've had over 220 people graduate from our training program. If we had terminated them from our services, there might not have been an opportunity for them to come back to us during this time and say, hey, a lot has changed. I just need help finding the new resources that I need. And so part of our community building is, yes, we work in the coffee industry. We teach people how to be baristas. We help them find jobs in that. But if they come back to us and they're like, I just need help with something completely unrelated, we're also going to help them navigate that as well. And we make time for that. And, you know, by nature of being a cafe, our doors are always open and people can come in at any moment, anytime. They can connect with us and just say, hey, this is what I need right now. How do I do this? And so I think that's been an important part for us to be that open community, you know, kind of entity that refugees know they can always come back and reconnect with at any point that they need.
Fantastic. Ali, along the same line, similar sort of question, Doug just described a bigger picture and overview of both skills and learning as well as building community. What has your experience been, both going through the barista training program as well as building community through 1951 and through your experiences beyond that?
Yeah, that was amazing, actually. Yeah, when I came here, I took the training class for 2 weeks. Even it was 2 weeks, I was like in the second week, mid of the second week, I got the offer from Dropbox company, which is they have their own coffee shop. So I started working over there like as a barista. But at first I didn't know like nothing. So also the manager who I was working at that coffee shop, she was also refugee, she came 20 years ago. And then she knew that refugee has difficulties. So she accepted me and then she trained me. So after that, being like working as a barista for like about 3 or 4 months, I became her assistant manager. So it was amazing. I can just explain that. Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. I learned a lot about coffee. And yeah, 1951 helped me a lot on this. And then I knew a lot of people like in coffee industry.
It was your launching pad.
Yeah.
Doug, you mentioned the pandemic, and certainly all of us in communities all across the United States, around the world, we have been grappling with the pandemic for a year at this point. How has for both of you, how has the pandemic impacted your work and your communities?
Yeah, you know, initially last March in 2020, you know, we initially closed. We had 3 cafes operating. We had about 32 people on our payroll, and we immediately had to close, you know, all of our cafes, especially in the early stages of the pandemic here in California. We had to figure out, you know, were we even able to, you know, operate? Were we allowed to operate? And it took us about 2 months before we were able to open up 2 of our cafes again, and try to kind of like see what we could do, see if we could make it through this time. Unfortunately, since then we've had to close 2 of our other cafes. We now only have 1 of our cafes open and operating. And, I mean, we're actually really close to the University of California at Berkeley. They've had significantly less students, about 25% of the student population on campus, they make up the vast majority of our customers here at Cafe. And so overall, from last year to this year, our sales are down around 90%. And the way that we work, obviously our barista training program is largely funded through donations from community members, donating to us. The baristas that we employ are largely funded through our cafes. And so, when our cafes, are not bringing, funds in, that means it's just less people we can hire and less people we can, help navigate this time. Now, obviously, we have helped them navigate every single other resource that we can help them find during this period. But as far as being able to provide employment, that has been hugely affected, during this time. And so, that's something that we're still trying to navigate. We're still trying to kind of make our way through. And right now we're hoping that by August, that things can feel normal again, especially with the new school year starting. Then that students will be back, and that we can experience that community and vibrancy again, and be able to put more people back to work.
Yeah, building back, I think, for all of us. Two more questions from my side before we go to the audience, and this is panning out a bigger picture. Going back to the film, Doug, in the film you mentioned that you referenced that for those of us who have grown up in the US and grown up with certain systems and process and culture, there are things we take for granted about that because we've always experienced it. It's always been a part of our particular lives, our particular experiences. Can you share an example of what you've realized maybe overlooked, or some of the things that people need to learn when they're coming to the US for the first time, when they're creating home in a new country?
Yeah, that's a great thing. I think Ali maybe could even mention this as well. I think one of the things that kind of comes to my mind is the interview process. When you go to a job interview, and there's these like standard questions that we know that are going to be asked, and you also know that those questions really don't mean what they're actually saying. Like, where are you going to be in 5 years? What are you going to be doing in 5 years? Like, every company wants you to say, oh, I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be in this job, and I'm going to be working my way up, and I'm going to be building myself up, But again, someone who's new to the country may literally answer that. And they're like, well, I was going to move with my cousin over to Ohio and maybe do some things here. It is things like that. I mean, there's so much cultural nuance to what it takes to land a job here in the United States and navigate those pieces of life and existence. But then even simple things like, once someone gets a job, the complications of transportation to that job when you don't have a car. I mean, a place like here in the Bay Area, sometimes you may have to take a bus, and then you have to take the train, and then you got to walk this distance, and have a bicycle. There's so many complexities that it takes just to being able to get that job and keep that job and keep moving forward. That I think those are things that growing up here, you kind of just gradually absorb that over time. You have time to learn that before it really has a big effect on your life. Whereas someone who's new to the country, they have to know that stuff almost immediately to be successful at a job, because an employer is not going to put up with you being late because the bus was late. They're not going to put up with the train having issues, and so you have to really be ready and willing to navigate that stuff as soon as you can. I know Ali has kind of a funny story about his dishwashing interview. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Ali.
Ali, please. Yeah.
It was funny. So IRC, the organization that help refugee find a job, so they have like training class to how to interview. So they said, like, if they ask you like why you love the job that you want to attend, and it was a dishwasher interview, so that was my first interview, and I was saying to that question, I love to washing dishes, and that was really funny, but I didn't know that because I was new in the country, and then they said you need to say like you love the job you want to do. So that was my fun experience that I had with my first interview.
You figured it out. And one final question for me, and then we'll turn to the audience. Why is it important for both of you? Why is it important for places like 1951 Coffee Company to exist? Why is it important for places to exist that connect newcomers to their new community?
You want to go first, Ali?
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a great a community. For example, like people who come to USA newly and they don't know about the culture and they're looking for the job. These places are like, you, for example, 1951 was the best place. Like you met a lot of people, refugees that coming from all around the world, and then you know them, and then you just feel like, yes, there are also some people that they have to force from their country and being here, and then you feel like, yeah, you have like some people like really feel you, and then you guys are we are like all together, and then learning something that we have like planned for the future.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons that I could see that something like this is important. I worked in refugee resettlement, before starting 1951 Coffee, and I also worked in coffee before. And I know that here in the United States, we talk about the coffee industry, and we talk about coffee as it's a very American thing, and it's, a place where we can have time to talk with friends and be together. And I think that from the very beginning is what Ali is talking about. When refugees come in, even if there are other people from their country here, I mean, if we took two Americans and we drop them in another country and like, well, you're both Americans, you should just be friends. It doesn't always work out that way. And you want to find a group of people that are your people that you can connect with and be a part of your life moving forward. And our cohort style of training classes where there's 10 people or so in a training class, they're together working in that cafe for 2 weeks, and they're also working alongside of each other. They're building relationships with each other. We try to make the classes as fun as possible. They're connecting with the teachers, they're connecting with the people that are helping them find jobs later on. And we're not just a service agency with that cold client, staff member, relationship. We want to be a new network of friends for the people that are going through our programs. And so that as they finish, that they will know that they belong somewhere. There's always a place that they can come back to, and a place that they can call home. But again, meeting those specific needs as well, connecting them with the financial resources they need through a job that can carry them forward. I mean, Ali has told you a little bit about his experience, but he also, after working as an assistant manager at Dropbox, he came back and was our cafe manager. And then after working as our cafe manager for approximately a year, I think, Ali, he actually went back to Dropbox to manage their cafe and become the coffee roaster, sending coffee to all the other 4 main Dropbox locations, I think, here in the US. And so there is a career trajectory also in coffee. And there's only a handful of training programs like this exist in the entire country that are bridging that gap between what refugee resettlement agencies can do in that early part of resettlement and then what employers expect. And so entities like 1951 Coffee are so important around bridging that gap, so that there are a lot of companies out there that once we've connected with them, we work with 44 different cafes here in the Bay Area, and our ability to connect with them and help them do something that they really want to do and make it so much easier for them is greatly appreciated. At the same time, refugee resettlement agencies, they want to get as many people financially stable as possible right away. And so again, being another entity that can help them accomplish that, it just makes this whole system so much smoother.
Well, that is a great segue to the few minutes that we have for audience questions. So I will turn to that. And our first questions are on a very similar theme. These two are related. Where did the funding come to start 1951 Coffee? And we have an audience member who is interested in opening a 1951 coffee company where he lives. And this person lives in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so initially our funding came in. We had a little bit of seed funding to start, just personal funding that we had. But we also we spent a lot of time networking. So as we were going to build out 1951 Coffee Company, we began to kind of cast our vision for it to community members, people who worked in design. I mean, you can see the wall behind me and some of our other stuff in our cafe. We had a design firm that basically gave us like a 90% discount on all the design services to make this happen. We had graphics companies that helped implement those designs that did it for very, very low cost. People who donated espresso machines. La Marzocco, the company that works with us, donated the espresso machines to us because they believed in what we wanted to accomplish. So that's a lot of the way it happened. And then initially we having worked in refugee resettlement before, I also was helping refugees find jobs when I worked with the International Rescue Committee. And so we knew a lot of the workforce foundations, and also, foundations interested in working with refugee resettlement. And so that's kind of what we tapped in to get started. We started with our training program while we were in the process of planning out our first cafe, and just kind of gradually built from there. But our cafe, is largely funded by people who are coming and getting a cup of coffee, just like they would anywhere else, to keep that going. And then we, today, we're slowly making that transition of working with foundations and hoping to move more toward individual givers, individual donors. Foundations work with you for a year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then they kind of move on. And for us to be able to kind of like continue to move forward, working with individual donors who can keep us going, year in and year out is really where we want to be. And so, we've actually been, working on expanding ourselves. Right now, we're really focused on solidifying what we have here in the Bay Area. But as a nonprofit, there is opportunity for us to partner with people in other places that have that desire, can raise funds in their local, environment, to implement what we're doing. And some of our training classes have moved online during the pandemic. And so we're exploring the idea of what can we do to even partner with people in other cities here in the United States to potentially offer some spaces for people in those training programs that we're doing online now. And so if someone's interested, they can always reach out to us, and we would love to talk more about helping them do that. So.
Great. Ali, a question from you in the chat, also about working at the cafe. What is one of your favorite memories or your favorite experiences from working at 1951?
Yeah, there's a lot of memories, but my favorite part was like training the new baristas, which is all of refugees, and then help them to how to make the best coffee. And then also the customer service here was great. The customers, like mostly students from UC Berkeley, which is like they're really nice, talking to refugees like who really cannot speak English, but they were really like polite and respectful. Those were like really inspired me, like working in the cafe also in 1951.
Doug, on a similar note, I'm sure there are many, but can you share with us one story that you've experienced about one of the program graduates, or a story that you've had as connected to the cafe that really enforced the value and the importance of your mission?
Yeah, I think there, kind of like Ali, there's a lot of memories and a lot of things that I've seen. But I think, seeing people like Ali, who, they've far surpassed me in my experience and knowledge, in the coffee industry. The latte art that Ali was doing after his first year. I've been working in the coffee industry for maybe 7-8 years now, and his latte art in his first year was better than mine. And seeing how far he's taken it, seeing someone like Lebe, who you met in the film, who when we first met him, spoke very little English at all. His first job here in the United States, he'd only been here 3-4 months. And to see now that, as we got to know him more, found out that, yeah, Lebe didn't know English early on, but he picked it up really quickly because he was already fluent in 6 other languages. And now he's here, he's able to kind of navigate his own life. He's since gotten married and working on bringing his wife here to the United States. And it's things like that, or Meg, who, was able to join his wife and still works in the coffee industry, today, and is, inspired to continue, working with refugees wherever he is to make a home for them, whether it's in the coffee industry or just around him. And I think, those are the things that I look at and see how I'm daily inspired by the people that are going through our programs, who are doing more than we could have ever dreamed they would do with these opportunities.
One final question from one of our audience members who is on the East Coast, like many of us, who aren't able to physically visit your cafe when you reopen. Sure. What are some of the ways that people can support 1951 beyond being a part of your cafe and your immediate Berkeley community?
Yeah. So, obviously, as a nonprofit organization, donating and keeping us functioning, and especially during the pandemic, trying to survive during this time, I think is one way. We sell our coffee online. Our barista team here in the cafe bags the coffee and they ship it out weekly. So if you're buying coffee remote, that's supporting our cafe operations and allows us to continue to move along. So you can buy bags of our coffee on our website and our t-shirts and, and things like that. But then also, advocating in your community for these causes. I think it is huge. And so, again, we're a part of that. And in any way that you're doing that where you are is a part of this mission that we have as well.
Perfect. Well, that is a fantastic way to close. In the final couple minutes, I have 2 additional points to add, which are very much on those themes. One is, as Doug just mentioned, ordering online and supporting online. I think we've put your website in the chat, but just in case, 1951coffee.com, 1951coffee.com. And then on the advocacy note, we know that everyone watching this afternoon feels very strongly about supporting refugees here in the US and around the world. And at USA for UNHCR, we are really focused and really excited right now about the opportunity in the US to rebuild the refugee resettlement program. For many of you who are watching, you may have followed over the past 4 years that the US refugee resettlement program has been, over the past few years, at its lowest point in history. We have in recent years been admitting only last year under 15,000 refugees to the US annually. That is far and away the lowest number since the refugee resettlement program started in 1980. Many years ago, we were at the peak at 200,000 annually. So you can see the big difference there. However, I say we are enthusiastic at USA for UNHCR because President Biden has pledged to get that number back up. He has pledged to grow to admitting 125,000 refugees to the US over the course of the next year and into 2022. And we have a petition that expresses that support and that sentiment. I think that's also going up on the screen and in the live chat. So we hope that the conversation this afternoon has inspired you to stand with that growth and with that revitalization of the refugee resettlement program. And so please go to that link, sign our petition, and we would appreciate you joining with us. So on that note, thank you for joining with us this afternoon for this event. Thank you for 1951 Coffee and all of our participants this afternoon, Doug, Ali, Evelyn, Rachel. We hope you found this afternoon's program inspiring as well as informative. We are very grateful for your continued support, both for life-saving aid for refugees around the world, as well as support for resettled refugees in the US, the newest members of our communities. Thank you again for your support, and we hope to see you again soon.